Okay, today's a 7th class. I know it says lecture 2 up there, but that's just because this is lecture 2 of the second half. So we'll have today's lecture 2, then we'll have next week, which is the 8th week, which is lecture 3, then the 9th week, which is lecture 4, and the 10th week, which is lecture 5. And that's it. So any questions about some of the material we did last week? We were doing the generating cycle, meditating the first half of the course on, or first half of the class on going through those 3 elements. Then we did second class, the other 3. You got that one. Okay. Let's see here. Not all these slides are coming up. Something's missing from a few of these slides. Oh, just for that one. All right, well, this typically in that little box it says viewing of the organs. Today what we're going to do is actually look at the 5 or 6 yin organs, actual anatomical organs, and we're going to meditate on each of those anatomical organs. So we'll start with the spleen. On the left side, you can live without a spleen, although the immune system is weakened. It's not the only organ, part of the body that's responsible for immune response, but it's a pretty major site for mounting immune response. Here's another view of it, kind of tucked up inside the rib cage. I think of it this way: the spleen. You know, if you've seen the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie Bucket's father used to work on this conveyor belt or an assembly line where he would watch as the toothpaste caps would come off the conveyor belts, and if there was one that was defective or broken or he would pick it out, and that was his job, was just to take out toothpaste caps so that they could be tossed away. That's what I see the spleen does. The spleen all day monitors the blood coursing throughout the body, and the lymphocytes, the neutrophils within the organ itself, when they spot something that shouldn't be there in the blood, their job is to take it out and rid it from the body. So destruction of old red blood cells will take that out. It filters the blood. Maybe that's another way of looking at it. It's an intense phagocytic activity, so that's where your immune response is. Any blood-borne antigens, bacteria, that's what the spleen does. So, think about that, how the blood, courses through our body all day, and all day long the spleen monitors the blood, and if there's something defective in the blood, depending on the spleen's health, it'll take that out. So if the spleen energy is weak because you do too much mental activity, brooding, pensiveness, worry, studying, then the spleen energy gets weaker, and then it misses some of that stuff traveling through the blood, and then that stuff can grow and you can get sick. Yeah, that's how that works. Better is that the mind is very clean or clear, so that the energy of the spleen can get stronger and the energy can consolidate stronger, so it can keep the blood pure. Not just mental activity, but also physical activity, excessive, can be wearing on the spleen. The spleen governs the muscle, so if you do too much physical labor, physical exercise, you also can weaken your spleen and weaken your immune system. So there is a max even on exercise in Chinese medicine, from my perspective, or from my understanding. So the red pulp is a part of it. It is the histological cross-section of the spleen. Macrophages is the red pulp, and the lymphocytes is suspended in the reticular fibers of the white pulp. So just trying to take home point is that those are 2 of the cells in the body that are responsible for keeping the body clean, the macrophages and the lymphocytes. and there has to be a portal of all the blood coming in and leaving, and there's your splenic artery and splenic vein, and it does sit up tight right inside the rib cage. 9th, 10th, and 11th rib cage, and also, connecting or at least touching the stomach area, or the kidney area, or even the diaphragm area, it looks like to me. There's just a relative size to hand. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes sort of picture-oriented, to see, better understand the organ by looking at it in an image from different views. Spleen also, we don't associate pancreas as a separate organ, or we don't have a separate like a Chinese meridian to the pancreas, but I guess there's a common thought that the spleen controls spleen and pancreas are one, at least from a meridian perspective in Chinese medicine. And that also makes sense, because obviously we understand how the pancreas is involved with insulin production and breakdown of sugar, which is part of metabolism in your digestion. So if you're not really on board with, oh, well, I get the spleen as part of the immune system, but I don't see how it connects to the digestion, because they say spleen also controls the digestion, then maybe you can better understand it by its connection with the pancreas. Just had a patient, or case study this morning, on with pancreatitis, and it was speaking with a colleague who was saying, yeah, but the tongue and tip is so red, and the person's so weak, and there's a lot of emotional stuff going on, but then there's a lot of fatigue and doesn't sleep so well. And all of a sudden I start thinking like Tianwan Bushindan, heart and kidney not communicating. But it's like, well, what happened to the spleen or the pancreas in that diagnosis? Well, sometimes you have to look at the tongue and pulse, even though that the chief concern is pancreatitis, which is obviously inflammation of the pancreas. So you got to think, oh, dampness, in the spleen. So you might use spleen 6, spleen 9, stomach 36, do 20, 4 doors, some of these acupuncture points or herbs for the spleen. But if there's a tongue and pulse, and a lot of the other symptoms start to point to kidney and heart not communicating, or kidney and heart yin deficiency, so Tianwan Bushindan, then you might say, well, maybe this spleen issue is so long standing that it's gone chronic and is also now affecting the kidney and heart. So I would probably choose an herbal formula like Tianwan Bushindan, kidney and heart, and then support it with acupuncture points for the spleen and get resolving dampness. Was my strategy this morning. So that's that one. Large organ left of the stomach, below the diaphragm, stores the blood, disintegrates old blood cells, filters foreign substances from the blood, produces lymphocytes, which is white blood cells, important part of the lymphatic system. And I love this one. In fact, if there's nothing else you get from this class but just this element, each of these yin organs, though they look solid, and they are yin, so I guess we call them solid, when you look at them closely, to me they look like a tree or a plant. We are part of nature. We aren't separate from it. Even our organs, when you look closely, they kind of look like these trees, these plants. And I mean that by the blood vessels, either splenic vein or the splenic artery. You'll see this in each of the organs, which is pretty fascinating. So, eat your greens, be close to nature, you'll feel well. Just an image of the channel, although I always had a little bit of an issue with these pictorials, because to me, to better understand the meridian, it's important to see it on both sides simultaneously. It's like learning how to write the letter M by just learning one stroke up and one stroke down. That's not an M. You need the second half of it, the other stroke coming up and the other stroke coming down, even though they're mirror images. It's important to understand what the character looks like by seeing the whole thing fully. So when you see one side, I think you got to understand that the energy comes up bilaterally. Guess you can, that's pretty self-explanatory. No words. I like this MRI view. It shows how tightly everything's kept in there. It really shows off how the liver is so large. And you can see how the pancreas, I think you can you know? Yeah, the pancreas is quite close to the spleen. And hit it up there kind of, you know, on the inside there, in splenic lymphangioma, so tumor of in the spleen. So I wanted to just take a few minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, and we'll just meditate. You know, maybe this one's pretty good on the spleen. If you want to actually put your hands on your flank, on the left flank, just to kind of get a better idea, I welcome you to do that. But just when you're ready, you know, find yourself a comfortable seated posture. Find your breath. Slowly inhale. Relax your mind. Soften your face. Slowly inhale, slowly exhale. Bring your mind back to the organ. In just a few more moments. When you're ready, you can bring your hands to your heart. May all the good merits of this practice be offered to the liberation of all beings from suffering. And when you're ready, you can slowly allow yourself to come into practice and allow your eyes to open. So we'll move to the lungs. Ethmoid, sinuses, tongue, throat, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, pleura, very light organ. That's why even in the Taoist images, sometimes they look like little feathers. They're so soft and delicate, and is the delicate organ, its most superficial organ. So it's affected by wind and cold and heat and damp and dryness. It's very delicate. It's right on the surface, and it's very, very light. They had it at the Body Worlds exhibit. You could actually hold one, and it felt like one of those big loofah sponges, which may look big and heavy, but you pick it up, and it's actually quite light. It's like on a set of a heavy boulder of a film production where it looks very heavy, but it's actually quite light. Lung is quite light. Again, there's this roots plant. That's the Body Worlds image. If you ever see, there's the exhibit sometimes goes around, or was going around some time back, Body Worlds, that's where this comes from. There's a book on it. Cross section where you can see the healthy lung, the bronchi, bifurcates of the bronchioles, and then just these little roots get so tiny, and at the end there's tiny little air sacs, where air comes in and gets all the way out to there, and the little blood vessels in the lung, the membranes are so small that the air can cross between the alveoli, and the air can get into the bloodstream and vice versa. The carbon dioxide can get released when you exhale. Quite amazing. Another image of it. Roots, plants. Even it's a yin organ. Here's an example when this how the alveolar changes in different lung diseases. One is too damp, one's too dry. Pneumonia is a fluid, blood cells in the alveoli from the pneumonia. And the walls, the alveolar walls thicken, or edema, so we might call that phlegm in the lungs, dampness in the lungs. Healthy lung is the one in the middle. Emphysema has become so dry, the membranes break, the alveolar membranes break down. You hear that crackling sound when they breathe because of the dryness. The smoker's lung, I just have so little tolerance these days for smokers. Because, as we get better understanding of Chinese medicine, we see how that just, it's all about circulation in the body, and eliminating stagnation. And stagnation over time just causes damp accumulation, which causes things to vibrate and causes heat, which causes inflammation and causes all kinds of disorders in the body. So anything that may cause stagnation, including tar in the lungs, or that destruction of these sacred lung tissues, is just unacceptable. So that's really your perspective of how you want to play that one when you see someone smoking. I get it. People are dampening down. Emotionally, they're not wanting to process something. People do it with food. People do it with drugs. People with smoking. All kinds of things. So you just have to, see what type of level you want to work with your patients. Where you stand, and try to help people to transform themselves. So they don't feel that they have to, difficulty letting go, difficulty grieving, not wanting to look at something, trauma, just feeling overwhelmed. That's why you have a relationship with them. That's why you build a relationship with them, to help them navigate into a more happy life. So let's meditate on the lungs for a few minutes, if that's okay. That's a good one. You want to have your arms by your rib cage, the flanks, whatever feels good for you. Find a comfortable seated posture. And slowly inhale, slowly exhale, and feel the rib cage expanding. Side to side, front and back, up and down. All day long, many of us go around without consciously being aware that we're breathing. And how valuable it would be, especially in early childhood education, to teach us to breathe. Be conscious of our breathing, especially when we're in moments of conflict. Perhaps one of the greatest things you can do in terms of conflict resolution is just to breathe for a moment. Allow the spine to be straight so the rib cage isn't pressing in on your liver or other organs. Spine nice and straight. We can even try during this practice to inhale for a count of 4 and then hold for a count of 7 and then exhale slowly for a count of 8. So when you can ready, you can say this to yourself and try this to see you can better understand the air coming in and out of the lungs. Inhale, count of 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Slow down a bit. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Again, inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Twice more. Inhale 4. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Inhale 4 last time. Hold 7. Exhale 8. Just breathe for a few more moments, focusing on the lungs. 3 more breaths. One last breath. Like you can bring your hands to your heart. May all the good merits of this practice be offered to the liberation of all beings from suffering. When you're ready, you can slowly allow yourself to come out of practice and allow your eyes to open. We'll do one more and then we'll go and break. Is that okay? Okay. So the heart. Deoxygenated air comes into a right atrium, goes down to the right ventricle. Right ventricle squirts it out through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. The lungs remove the deoxygenated blood. No, the blood that's deoxygenated. They transfer the carbon dioxide out and they bring the oxygen back into the blood. And then it comes back through the pulmonary vein from the lungs into the right atrium, goes down to the right ventricle, and then the heart squirts it out for the rest of the body, first to itself in the brain, and then to the rest of the body. And we need a peaceful heart, otherwise it can get enlarged, it can have other issues. The blood needs to be healthy and clean, otherwise the heart, you'll start, there can be atherosclerosis, it can be thick hardening of the walls of the blood vessels in the body, or there could be not just the walls, but the blood itself could add too much fat on it, and you can start getting higher risk for coronary issues. There's your plant again, like a bulb in the earth, your heart. What's kind of cool about the heart in the pericardium is you'll see the bulb on the heart is like at the bottom, and then these roots kind of spray out, and later we'll see the pericardium, it's like a bulb on top with roots going down. So they're kind of like this yin and yang. But this is the heart where energy's going out. Bulbs, the vessels are going out. Heart again. It's muscle. There's that bulb on top spraying down, like the greater vessels going to innervate and to give nutrients to the heart itself. Plants. We just are a little different. Again, cholesterol buildup, plaque cause issues, blood clots cause issues, phlegm accumulation, blood stagnation. These are not good things for the health and well-being. If it gets in some of those microvessels in the heart, it can cause an infarct, dead tissue, dying muscle. And a part of the heart, it won't be functional anymore. So, again, and there's maybe a little bit of that heart and spleen, connection that tie in. No, it's lung and spleen. Anyways, heart and spleen connection. A healthy diet makes healthy blood, which supports a healthy heart. Peaceful mind yields a peaceful heart. Let's meditate on the heart for a few minutes, and then we'll go on break. If you want to bring your hands to your heart, you're welcome to it. You can even put your hand on your heart and try to feel the beating of the heart. Feel the beating of your heart. You leave your hand on your heart long enough, you'll start to feel the pulse in your hand from your heart. Just a few more moments. And just a few more breaths. If you ever get sleepy during the practice, take a few nice deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can bring your hands to your heart. May all the good merits of this practice be offered to the liberation of all beings from suffering. May all beings be happy. When you're ready, slowly allow yourself to come into practice and allow your eyes to open. Let's take a break for about 10 minutes. Sounds good?